Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the third lesson of Media and Information Literacy. Process of communication. Communication came from the Latin word communis, which means to share. Communication is a dynamic process of conceptualizing an idea and conveying these ideas while making sure they are understood as they are intended. There are a number of communication models that tries to explain the process of communication. In the next slides, we will discuss a few of them. Transmission models. Laswell's communication model, developed in 1948 by Harold D. Laswell, a renowned communication theorist. It is also known as the linear model or the one-way model of communication. It is considered as the most influential communication models. According to Laswell, there are three functions for communication. Number 1, surveillance of the environment. Number 2, correlation of components of society. And 3, cultural transmission between generations. This model has 5 components in total. Who? This entails the communicator or the sender of a message. Says what is the content of the message. In which channel, the medium or media where the message is being transmitted to. To whom, the receiver or an audience. And with what effect. This is the feedback of the receiver to the sender. Example of Laswell's communication model. Darul Ifta lifts suspension of bomb congregational prayers. The masajid are now open to have congregational prayers every Friday, but strict compliance of the preventive measures due to COVID-19 is highly emphasized. Under MGCQ, only 50% of the mosque's capacity should be allowed to enter. Let's dissect this message according to Laswell's communication model. Who is this message from? Darul Ifta. What is the message all about? Revoking of bomb congregational prayer suspension. Which medium is used for conveying the message? The Internet. To be specific, the Philippine News Agency website. For whom is this message intended for? For public information. What is the intended effect of the message? To alert all Muslims in the area of the resumption of congregational prayers. Shannon-Weaver's communication model. Shannon was an American mathematician and electronic engineer, while Weaver was an American scientist. The two of them wrote the mathematical theory of communication, also called Shannon-Weaver communication model. This model is designed to help develop effective communication between sender and receiver. It constitutes of 8 elements. Source, where the message came from. Encoding, the process by which a message is translated so it can be transmitted and communicated to another party. For example, a person writing a letter writes the message, or a person texting someone is typing the message on a device with SMS or short message service. Transmitting, the actual act of sending the message. Channels, this is the medium to which the message travels to. It could be telephone, internet, radio, TV, print media, and others. Decoding, the process by which the receiver translates the source's thoughts and ideas so they can have meaning. Receiver, the one who gets the message. Noise interference, can be mechanical sounds during communication or conflicting tones drowning the original message. Have you ever experienced when you are talking to someone over the phone and you hear static sounds in the background? That is a sample of noise. Feedback, response generated by the message that was sent to the receiver. If you have noticed, transmission is not depicted exactly on the diagram. That is because from the moment the message leaves the sender and is received by the receiver, that is the entire process of transmission. Berlos' SMCR model of communication in 1960 is a type of a reception model. In 1960, David Berlo postulated the sender, message, channel, receiver model of communication from Shannon-Weaver's model. Berlo describes several factors that affect each component and how communication is affected in the process. He also focused on the encoding and the decoding parts of the process. It has 4 components: source, message, channel, and receiver. The part where the message is being encoded and decoded are important because this is where the message can be received, inferred, or translated in many different ways. Let's examine each component in details. Source or receiver. The factors that affects both the source and the receiver of the message are as follows. Communication skills. These are accumulated over the years, whether learned from education or life experiences. This includes speaking, presenting, reading, writing, listening skills, and others. For example, if the sender uses jargon or words that are especially used in a certain field which the receiver is not aware of, then the sender may think that the message is conveyed. But on the side of the receiver, the message may be incomprehensible or vague. Attitudes. Different attitude affects how we convey our message and how we perceive or receive a message. For example, whenever your parent scolds you about a bad behavior, your parent may come out as harsh or annoying to you. But if only your attitude is open and positive, you will perceive the scolding as a way to educate you about good manners. Knowledge. Aside from educating yourself with good communication skills and positive attitude to have effective communication with people, knowledge of various topics and fields is also crucial for good communication. For example, your stud is talking about dates being sweet, and you, not having knowledge about dates, the food, might perceive it as dates, as in several days on the calendar, being sweet. Lack of knowledge will distort the true meaning of the message. Social system. We all know there are a lot of social rules, values, and beliefs within our society that takes into account whenever we try to communicate. For example, in the Philippines, we use the words po and opo to show respect to our elders or the ones in authority. Other countries have different way of communicating in a casual, respectful manner. Culture. Different cultures and tradition all over the world affects the meaning of messages. Some cultures may find a certain message offensive, while others may find it alright. For example, some cultures shake hands or cheek to cheek 3 times as a way of greeting. However, as Muslims, we say, Assalamu alaikum. Message. The factors affecting the message are as follows. Content. The substance, idea, or thoughts within a message from the beginning to the end is the content, or that is the message itself. Elements. Elements are the non-verbal details included within the content. For example, a gasp while expressing a shocking news, or a stamp of foot while expressing a disapproval. Treatment. Treatment, on the other hand, is the way the message is conveyed to the receiver. Treatment also affects the feedback of the receiver. For example, there are times when 2 people say the same observation about you, but the other one says it politely, while the other one says it bluntly. Same meaning, different effect. Structure. It is the form or organization of the message. That is why we learn how to organize our thoughts, our way of writing, speaking, and presenting in order for our message to be more clearly understood. For example, if a letter of request does not contain to whom the request is being made to, or the date when the request should be fulfilled, will create a confusion for the receiver. Code is the form in which the message is sent. It might be in a form of a language, image, video, audio, or other forms. For example, in an intersection where a traffic enforcer puts out his hand, palm facing a vehicle, it is obvious that he wants them to stop. This message is in a form of body language or gesture. Lastly, channel. Remember, channel is the medium or media which the message travels to in order to reach the receiver. In general communications, the main channels are the five senses. Hearing. Whenever we hear a change in intonation, volume, or speed, changes the meaning of a message. Seeing. A lot of facial expression, eye contact, hand gestures, body language are seen and are crucial to creating a meaning out of a message. Touching. Many of the nonverbal communication happens through touching. A pat in the back, a squeeze of a hand, or a hug. There are certain messages conveyed through the sense of touch that cannot be fully explained in words. Smelling. We also gather information through smelling, and this can affect the meaning of the message. For example, the juice is labeled as orange, but it smells like apples. Of course, you will doubt what's written on the label. Tasting also provides information to ascertain the message. For example, a cookie says sugar-free, but when you taste it, it tastes like sugar. The message becomes quite different. In technical communications, there are a lot of channels. For example, the network of the post-mail system is used for delivering letters, but this is much outdated. We still use the telephone, but the usual channels that we use nowadays are smartphones, computer, or laptop, and of course, the internet. That is the end of Lesson 3. See you in Lesson 4.